Welcome back to Love of One, Healing and Transformation. Today's episode is a celebration of sisterhood, sovereignty, and the sacred feminine. I'm joined by three incredible women, Alex, Caitlin, and Lily, who have come together to form The Goddess is Rising. We talk about their journey, what it means to embody the divine feminine, and their upcoming retreat designed to uplift and reconnect women through joy, embodiment, and ceremony. Today is a little different. We have three guests to my one, but I'm so excited. They are offering a new retreat offering, a new collaboration on what they call The Goddess is Rising. And I'm so excited to have all three, Miss Alex, Miss Caitlin, and Miss Lily with us today. And I got into the goddess vibe myself, put little flowers here today to kind of bring in more of the goddess aspect of our conversation. I'm excited to dive in. So let's do it because we're lots of women with lots of stuff to talk about. So, ladies, thank you for joining me today and to discuss your new offerings and also how they can bring healing and transformation to individuals. Is it women? Is it men? Is it everybody? I want to get your aspect on what the divine feminine truly means to you in your words, and what you're bringing to the table brings that forward and allows people to sink further into that themselves. So, with that, who would love to go first?
I can start, I guess. Yeah, thanks for having us. It's good to be on here again. And yeah, we kind of came up with this idea when we were in Egypt together. We had the opportunity to be in Egypt. And so that kind of like was birthed as we were visiting the different goddess temples and moving through Egypt together. But yeah, the divine feminine to me, it's just, looking at the feminine polarity of the divine and exploring and doing different practices and coming together to explore that energy within ourselves. And as women, we really channel and hold that energy a lot. And, through life and stuff, I feel like maybe sometimes it's hard to access that. And so this offering, what we're offering is just a place and a space where we can come together as women and explore those energies within ourselves. So that's kind of that basic of how we came to come up with this.
Could you guys just introduce each other about, what is your background? What led you to this journey together? How did you come into your offerings separately and then together as a collaborative effort?
So my name is Lily. My background is bodywork, nursing, plant medicine facilitation, guiding. I came into this work because I have always sought for the kind of healing that is going to ripple through the earth and heal the earth. That has always been my lifelong mission. And when I found plant medicine work first, that I I realized that to me, this was going to be the biggest catalyst for people to wake up and realize that we are interconnected with Gaia. Everything about our world is interconnected with Gaia. And doing ritual and ceremony brings us closer to that and brings us closer to our own realization of healing. So that's kind of where it came in for me. And then this goddess work, like Alex said, it started with that trip to Egypt and the relationships that developed while we were there with these different goddess energies. Sekhmet and Isis and Hathor, these are all parts of us and they're all aspects of the life we lead. And we aren't just any one of them. We get to be with those goddess energies at different times in our life, and that we need to honor those. And the story of Isis, how she healed her husband Osiris, who had battled with the masculine Set, and the two of them had gone into this toxic masculinity and destroyed the masculine. And this is like basically the metaphor, the story, the myth of how the masculine became so toxic and wounded today. And the divine feminine goes in and puts the pieces of the masculine that are broken together. And by the divine feminine healing the masculine, Christ consciousness is born. The sun is born through. And so I keep on with that vision and healing the divine feminine within all of us and even within men, right? That I feel is going to be the catalyst for the biggest change in our world. So
Beautiful.
that's where I hold it in my heart.
Thank you. Caitlin, we'd love to hear about how you came into this space as well.
Yeah, well, so first and foremost, I'm a mother of 4 daughters, so I have a big responsibility to help the divine feminine rise up. I talk a lot with my husband about, my husband is very analytical and, very right-brained. And we talk about how the whole feminine movement feels a little bit misguided, where women were trying to act and be like men, and how that has actually been a disservice to us, where instead of trying to act one way and be in our masculine, what is needed is to rise up and to honor and to appreciate and to love the feminine. And so this is creating a space where we can just nurture that and nourish the feminine in all of us, but primarily in women. And yeah, when we were in Egypt together and when we were in Isis's temple, it just felt so like the sisterhood, the bond we had as women together, singing and dancing and uplifting each other. It just felt so powerful. And we were like, how can we bring this home? Like, this is where I feel alive. This is where I feel is just so needed and important. And also, I think Lily touched on this too, like the Gaia aspect, that if we heal our women, we heal the earth, we heal our mother. So I just feel really driven and motivated and inspired to do this work.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Alex?
Yeah, so I also, first and foremost, am a mother of 2, and I have a background of a clinical hypnotherapist, and I do psilocybin-assisted hypnotherapy. I've done a lot of plant medicine work, facilitation and guiding, and a lot of just energy work. I'm really excited about this, offering this goddess retreat. It's in my personal, I guess, practice and my personal relationship with my husband, especially over the last few years. We've really been working with the masculine and feminine polarities, and him going more into his masculine, and me, it allows me to go more into my feminine. Whereas before I was a bit more in my masculine. And so through the work that we've been doing in our personal practice and our sacred union, getting to see, getting to go more into that feminine polarity and have that energy like flowing through me has been absolutely amazing, to be kind of in my natural state, it feels like. And so I want to share that with other women, because I think, like these 2 have mentioned, like the tables have been kind of flipped and things have just been kind of like not in balance. Seeing that through my own personal experience, it's beautiful and amazing to be able to let ourselves as women be in our feminine expression, and it's embodiment, and it's allowing these energies, these beautiful, crazy, wild, intense energies flow through this vessel that we are, this channel. And so I'm really excited about guiding people and women through that experience and helping them get in touch with those energies and learn how to, allow them to be expressed and allow them to be felt and experienced. Because it's so, we hold everything, and it's very freeing to be able to do that.
Yeah, I would agree. And I want to touch base on the point made about being more in our masculine than our feminine, because I know my journey, my entire life in this incarnate, and apparently others, was all about living in my masculine as a feminine being. And it really was difficult to break that cycle even for myself. And through multiple modalities, even with a couple of you lovely goddesses here today, allowed me to break through that into more of my feminine aspect of myself. So in the last few years, and it's been that way. And I think that a lot of women in the corporate world, because that's where I started, it is feeling that same pull, right? They're feeling the same way of always doing and being the one who makes everything work and do and never take time to soften their edges, to be with themselves, to have that self-love and self-nurturing of themselves, and forgetting that it's okay to slow down and be with our emotions. right? And feel those deeply. So I like that we're putting that out, because I think that's so true still today on a bigger scale that we really want to talk about. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just add, I was having a discussion yesterday about this. Like, in order for the feminine to let go of that kind of masculine role, to be able to kind of settle back and allow the force of life to flow through her, you need to have that safety. You need to feel safe enough and have that container to be able to do that. And with this retreat that we offer, like, that's, the fundamental thing. We come together in circle, as in sisterhood, and it's a really supportive space where, from our experience, women are able to let go and to sink more into that allowing and receiving, rather than the doing and having to hold it all together. So it's really
yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said safety, because when I started down my own path, um, I needed a place that I felt safe, because when we feel safe, then we tend to let go more,
yeah,
right?
it's essential.
Um,
Yeah.
it is essential.
Yeah.
That being said, what kind of offerings are you doing that, and how do you see them bringing that safety forward and bringing that feminine aspect forward outside of the masculine, helping people that come to you and feel resonant with you to sink into that and let go?
Mm.
I think part of that is bringing women together in a feminine in divine feminine way that does not have any of that competition with each other, that separation with each other, that is a masculine trait, right? Is a toxic, wounded masculine trait, which has been like really insidious in our lives, because we're here as women to support each other, to lift each other up, to nurture each other, to hold each other. And so coming in together in retreat setting and ceremony and ritual setting, and in such a way that we can relinquish all of that competition and power struggle, that we really want to see everyone thrive and bring everyone up and honor the cycles of everyone's life. Maiden, mother, sorceress, crone, being able to bring in all of those, and every single one is just incredibly sacred. And the maiden is not the only one that is desirable, right? That we have each phase of our life is part is just bringing us more and more wisdom. And as we grow older, we can step more into that and become more and more powerful and serve the younger ones as well. So I think we're all kind of in this perimenopausal place where we're like, you know, bringing, want to bring,
True.
yeah, not everywhere. Yes. Yeah. Coming out of those younger phases and realizing, oh gosh, if we knew then what we know now, soften that journey through life and make such better decisions for ourselves and our families, and thrive and not struggle so much and or feel alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Lead by example, right? As we all have children, and I also have two daughters. And yeah, and I feel that we do need to lead by example and pave the way forward of not just breaking down the glass ceiling, but making sure that we're just beautiful, whatever that looks like, and that we're okay being that beautiful regardless, and stepping out of the competition. And I would agree with you, because I feel like I've seen it all, but maybe I haven't, but I've seen a lot. And, the competition is big, and it still is real, especially in the corporate world. And from, being seeded and programmed as we were younger in our generations of, even in sports, and being a better singer than your neighbor, and doing all these things that have to be better, and pushing and pushing and pushing. And that is not the way we need to be. And that's not the way we ever were when we started out. So I love that you pointed that out. Yeah.
Yeah. And
For
I
sure.
it's about really leaning into sisterhood.
Yeah.
That, even with 4 kids and a husband, there was times where I still felt so alone. Like I wasn't physically alone, but I felt super isolated and alone. And it's by finding my sisters, and that I now feel I feel more at home in myself. I feel more safe. I feel more seen and witnessed. Yeah, it just has brought in a lot of balance, grounding, and strength to my life to have sisters that I trust and I know can truly see me.
That's beautiful. I think the loneliness very well. So I'm just finally pulling myself out of that one. So it is important. It's important to understand that you're not alone, especially as us women too, and us mothers and working mothers, married or not married. It's really hard to get ourselves out of that space of loneliness. I myself just had to push through a pretty big rotten piece of that myself. So I love this collaboration. I can't wait to come and partake in part of it too. So I'm super excited. That being said, what are your offerings that you're putting together? Which ones are separate? Which ones are collaborative? Are they all collaborative? What can we expect with this beautiful, the goddess is rising?
Well, 8/8 this year, Lionsgate, August 8th, we're going to be putting on a retreat in Potter Valley, Ukiah, California. That is going to be a 3-day, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday retreat for all women that we will go through ritual, ceremony, meditation, activation, inspiration with all the women coming to
All women.
rising up, facing the different aspects of their self that they have maybe long buried or need to come out, helping women step into their power, helping them to connect, exposing them to ceremony together.
And when you say connect, is that connecting to their truest self, their feminine within, all of those things? What do you see as the outcome of these retreats when people come and partake in them?
Yeah, for me, I hope that it supports people in just feeling more free and empowered to just be themselves, be their authentic selves, express the way they want to express, live the way they want to live, and just feel more able and confident and empowered to do that. I know for so much of my life, you know, I wasn't really truly allowing myself to live in my expression. And to do that is, I mean, my gosh, why else are we here? So I really, really, truly hope to just create a space and a place and a time where we can come together and explore and learn and start to do that so we can go move out into the world and, live the life that we want to live it for ourselves and spread our true authentic nature because that's what the world needs. The world needs all of us to be in our hearts and in our truest, our truest form. So I really hope that when people come to the retreat, they're leaving more connected to themselves and more aware of everything that's flowing through them.
Broken box have
Yeah.
untamed, undomesticated, found their wild woman. Like, who do you want to be? What box have you been living in your whole life? What is a mother supposed to be? What is a wife supposed to be? What is a woman supposed to be? Like, let go of all of that. Be your organic self. And who is that is just dying to come out?
Yeah, thank you for saying that because it's not just about being a beautiful woman. That's not what the goddess is. It's all the different archetypes of the goddess. So we have a fire day where we're honoring the sacred rage, right? Like when you feel anger, that's your soul telling you that something's not aligned. So we honor the fire, and then we honor the water and being in flow and being playful and sensual, and then we also honor the earth and creating and feeling grounded and nurturing. And there's all the different aspects of the woman. It's not just being pretty.
Yeah, I love that you said that because I remember early on in my awakening process, I sat with an Akashic Records reader, Susie. She's on my podcast. And she said, well, first of all, you need to get more into your feminine. You are so heavy masculine. And I said, but I really like wearing dresses and doing my hair. And what do you mean? I'm totally in my feminine, not knowing and understanding what she truly meant till I went down this road. So I'm glad that you brought that up because I think that people have a different idea of what feminine masculine really looks like. And then I also recently, a couple months ago, sat down with a colleague of mine that I've known for 20 plus years. And he said, I love all this talk about the feminine. Does that, is that for me too? Do I get to partake in that as a man? I would love to hear from all of you what that really means, because I think that is still out there thinking this thought process that when you're talking about divine feminine and divine masculine, you're talking about woman, man, and that is not the case. So could you shed some light on that? Especially because I know all three of you have been around facilitating plant medicine and where it's the man and the woman. And we always talk about and try and educate. So please help educate those listeners today about the difference between those two, if there are any.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, I'm glad you're bringing this question up because it's not one or the other. We all have characteristics we have qualities of everything within us. We are everything. And within that, there's a feminine polarity and a masculine polarity. And we all have the feminine and we all have the masculine. Some people have more feminine, some people have more masculine. It doesn't matter what kind of, body you're in. But it's important to understand these different energies because, as I said, we encompass everything. The masculine is kind of like the holder, like the container, consciousness itself. It holds all of life. And if you have a strong, healthy masculine energy within yourself or within a relationship or whatever, that's the container that holds the feminine. So all feminine, I would say, is all of life. The flow, the complexity, the wildness, everything that happens in life, that's the feminine. And the masculine is the container, the structure, the safety that holds all of it. And so, yeah, I guess that's what I would say about it. But it's, so it's essential to have a really solid masculine within yourself and, relationship, of course. And then from there, to experience the feminine and like the depth and complexity and everything that can flow through this container is just amazing. Like just absolutely amazing and so expansive. It's all of life.
And to take like a real life example of what that might look like in one's personality, I'll just use I was stuck in my masculine so heavily for so long. I went through a very, very rough divorce at a young age and was a single mom. And so I was determined to, make it. And I flowed into all my energy being put into my career, into being a competitive athlete, to being a mother and a father to my children. And it was like linear, goal-oriented, do. And there was no receiving going on. I was giving, and achieving and achieving and achieving. And I mean, that was all through my 20s and 30s. And I found plant medicine at a point where I was definitely experiencing burnout. There was no part of me that was able to rest and relax and receive and just be instead of do. And so I realize how out of balance I was at that time until I started down my plant medicine road, actually. And that's when I was to really understand what the divine feminine principle even was. And so now that's transformed into allowing myself to receive and to rest and to find time for creativity and to honor the rhythms of the cycle of my body with the moon and allow the masculine to hold me and to not feel like I need to do it all myself.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Well, Caitlin, do you have to add to that?
Yeah, what comes to mind for me currently that I'm working with is, let's see. So as we said, like the masculine is about doing and acting, where I'm channeling more of this wanting to magnetize, wanting to attract, wanting to receive rather than always having to feel like I have to work hard to get what I think I want. And just like being more in flow, being more in stillness and allowing things to come to allowing things to come rather than always feeling like I have to strive and go get it.
That's a good point too. A lot of people sit in the fear of lack, right? And so they're constantly in their masculine trying to pick up thinking that if I keep doing and doing and going and going and going, I'll get more, I'll get more, I'll get more. And that is not really the case, because now you're living in a cycle of fear of lack, and you're out of balance, and you're not letting anything flow. You're not living in a space of joy. How do you think people could sit in their space, to sit in their stillness? What do you think people could do when they're old? Just get some baby steps, really.
Bare feet.
Yeah, bare feet. I often say in my podcast, I literally just lay in the dirt. I'm outside and kids are like, and I'm just like laying in the dirt.
Any practice that brings you into your body, though, and out of your mind, because the mind is all the masculine, right? Planning, thinking, doing, contriving, and bringing yourself into your body, into your heart. That's going to be the principle, right? So whether it's breath work, grounding, yoga, movement, swimming, dancing, all of that, coming into the body without it being a mental process. Like, am I doing this right? Am I getting better at this? All of those things, like just doing and being with your body.
Yeah, I like that. Earlier you said competition, but we also often think we're in competition with others, but we forget that sometimes we're just in competition with ourselves, and we need to stop.
Yeah. Things with the objective of producing something or achieving a goal, that's all going to be masculine, right? But just doing something for the fun of it, for the pure joy and presence of it, that's going to be the feminine, right? And those different things, like painting a picture to sell, is different than just painting because you're having fun painting, right?
Yeah, and if it sells, cool.
It's a different mindset going into it. Like, 'cause you're thinking, oh, I'm going to make something that someone else likes, versus doing something for your own enjoyment.
That's true. And that puts different energy into the outcome of that thing. Alex and I have also learned just recently through our work together, because we collaborate, that whatever energy you're in the moment of your creation goes into that creation. That's a good point, that if I'm just painting a picture because I want that money, I need that, right? Like, I'm fearing that I need this, and if I do this, then hopefully I can get that. That's a different frequency of which you're emitting out into the energy space, into that final outcome. Whereas, like you said, Lily, if you're just painting because I feel good and then I put it out there, then you're also at a different heart coherence. Let's say you're at 432 coherence of frequency. Now you're putting that out into the world, and that attracts something different, doesn't it? I love that.
Yeah, exactly what you said. You become magnetic when you
It's all energy. I love it. With all these different modalities that you are putting into this container, this beautiful collaborative container, is there a certain, I've always wanted to ask a guest this question, but I have yet to have one that has so many different modalities that they bring to the table. So I can't wait to ask him and see what the response is. Which, is there a difference between a particular modality versus, like, let's say, is there different layers that a plant medicine goes deeper into versus a heart medicine versus energy work versus movement of the body? Do you find that it hits different layers, different emotions, different aspects of healing and awakening or transformation?
yes.
I know that with retreat in particular, we all work a lot with plant medicine, and that's so necessary and so important, but it can be really heavy. It can get really into your shadows, which is, like I said, so important.
Yeah.
But after a while, we can't spend all of our time in the shadows. So we wanted to create something that was light and uplifting and fun and joyful and just bringing the light. And so that's why we're working with heart medicine for this particular retreat. So we want to just remember to enjoy and play and just uplift,
Celebrate.
celebrate.
Yeah.
I like that, because a lot of people, when I just in conversation and I mentioned plant medicine, they may like, oh, I want to go deep like that, and sometimes it's not always necessary to go that deep. And you're absolutely right. I think that there's a lot of talk about the shadow work and how dark it is and how hard it is. And it is, but there's also ways that you can uplift yourself and heal through the light, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel super drawn to that personally right now. And just in the world, there's a lot of heaviness. There's a lot of ugh all the time. And I was really inspired to, instead of like going into the shadows and doing that, let's go more into the light and move from there upwards. So yeah, I'm really excited about this offering.
That's cool. It's a different take on healing.
Yeah.
It's even energy workers, they take to, this is just my opinion, but it seems like everyone's just talking about doing the shadow work. But even when you're done a lot of shadow work, there's still work in the light. There's still work to be done in the lighter aspects of one's journey. And that's why I find this collaborative retreat and offering so intriguing.
Yeah.
I can't wait to come.
Shadow work, in defense of shadow work though, as well. It, facing the darkness and shining light on it is freeing us out of a cage.
100%.
So when one is ready to do that work, which it might take a lifetime to be ready to do it, can relieve you of so many wet blankets that you didn't even know that you were wearing. And it's like shedding old skin and releasing ties with ancestral trauma and that kind of thing. And that can like allow you to soar in your life. So it has,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think all my podcasts have been talking about shadow work. So it's good to have a different aspect for people to see that there really is light at the end of the tunnel, right? And that even though you get there, you're still weaving in and out, right? Because as Lily, as you said, it's still beautiful work and it still helps us. And I've never heard anyone say wet blankets, and I really like that. I usually use the onion metaphor, but I like the wet blankets. That's kind of cool too. Yeah. And it's all beautiful and it's all needed and it all frees us.
Yeah.
It's like cyclical, right? Night and day. You need both.
Yeah. The polarity in which we live in on this planet, right?
And
Being more uplifting into the healing realm.
Yeah. Because there's all aspects.
Yeah.
That's why I always talk about when there's purging, purging can also be laughing.
yeah.
Important.
Yeah. Well, I love all of this. Is there anything else either one of you would like to add to this space today about what you're offering? What do you feel like the world really needs and how you can fill that void with what you're bringing to, into life?
I feel as though so many of us, we might believe that we are free because we live the way we want to live, but the way that our minds work are not free, that we are living in a programming, in a societal patriarchal program that has been fed to us generations long and throughout this life. And it's something that we maybe are not even aware of at all, but how many decisions we make out of fear, guilt, or shame unconsciously, and how this kind of work can free you from that cage. And every time we rub up against something that's uncomfortable, that's a bar of our cage that we can get into and move out of. So throughout all of my personal work, I'm constantly realizing, oh, that's a program I'm running. That's not even my own idea. That's an idea that was fed to me through society. Like the idea that if we rest, we're resting to be more productive on the other side. But no, rest is actually just a human right. It's something we absolutely need and we should cherish. Rest was taken away from us by the capitalism society that we live in, that we are machines who are here to produce and to achieve. And if we're not doing that, what good are we? And what place do we have in society? When no, just existing and being is our human right, our goddess given.
The rest part resonates because still today we are encouraged to work 40 hours a week, a minimum of 40 hours a week. Well, that doesn't really give us a lot of rest. And when we do take rest,
Like my daughter just got written up because she wanted to take a day of rest.
Mhm.
It's not honoring who we are. It's not honoring our body and our minds and our heart. I love that you pointed that out, Lily. Thank you.
There's a really beautiful book that is called Rest is Resistance by, I think it's Trisha Percy. But anyways, in it, she talks about the slave trade as being the beginning of that capitalism. How much can we make someone work before they actually fall dead? And that's what the plantation owners did to the slaves, and how that has bled over into our American culture. How much can you get out of each human before they actually just keel over?
It's like people at the same job over and over until they retire. And then as soon as they retire, you hear so many stories that they just retired and then they just died. And it's like, so to your point, yeah, yeah. I don't want to be that. That sounds horrible. Rape people.
Yeah, creating a space, where you can come do that and just in sisterhood and just have an enjoyable time and get to know yourself more. I guess my invitation is come if you're interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all parts of you are welcome.
Yeah,
The messy parts, the
absolutely.
emotional parts, all parts are welcome, and that's invited.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's like you actually need it more than you possibly know.
We always need it when we don't know it. Oh no, I'm fine. And then I go, oh my God, I really needed that.
We had a couple women who were a little resistant to the idea of the goddess and coming into that feminine energy, kind of maybe because they had preconceived notions of what that meant. But they were the ones who came to us later and said, I had no idea how much I needed this. This is life transformative. So
That's beautiful. And so how many do you allow in these retreats to max out? Can you just talk a little bit about it before we go?
well, our retreats are space dependent, how many people we can accommodate. And so this one coming up is a total of 13. Yes.
Perfect number.
And
That number will get
yeah,
Yeah, I do. It's a great number. Verbal.
Yeah, we like to
Yeah.
keep it small so that, we can really keep it like an intimate container and sweet group. And yeah, we like to hold that like a really tight container.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. And it's coming up on 8/8 Lionsgate. And then is there another date planned too, just in case those that are thinking they can't make that one, but they'd love to know? Or is there a way that they can keep on the know? Is there a website they can go to sign up for notifications of when these beautiful offerings are coming?
Absolutely. The goddess is rising. Look it out. Hopefully you get clip notes. And we have
Yeah.
an well, also the goddess is rising. And yeah, we are hoping to do these, I think quarterly is our goal. So hopefully you'll see a lot more of us.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I would love to. I mean, I always enjoy it.
We plan to take to different locations also on this beautiful earth that we live on. So really like there's these powerful locations and we have plans to take it on the road.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. That's
Yeah.
great to know. Awesome.
thing we will be weaving into the retreats is song. And that's something, women singing together,
Yeah.
our voices coming together and sitting in circle making song, medicine songs. It's such a powerful experience if one has ever done it.
For sure, it amplifies the space tenfold. I am a true believer in that. I've seen it. I've seen it in many different forms of seeing. The amplification of women singing together and that harmonic intermingling of those sounds and symbols and frequencies just really ignites like this whole bubble of beauty. So if anyone listening today has ever been to a retreat of any kind, I would strongly recommend, because the healing one receives during a ceremonial space is just so beautiful and so much more powerful than doing it within your space. Especially with plant medicine, you don't do plant medicine on your own. It's a ceremonial journey just because of that exact reason. Thank you, beautiful goddesses, for joining me today and my listeners. I am so honored that you're here to share all of your wisdom and your beauty and your resonance. And I thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope. I hope. All of their information will be at the end of this podcast in the outro, as well as the description for the remainder of this episode as long as it lives. Thank you again. And I look forward to joining you in your sacred space.
We look forward to having you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us today. If this conversation spoke to your heart, I invite you to explore their upcoming retreat and offerings at thegoddessisrising.com. You'll also find links in the show notes. Until next time, stay rooted in love and keep rising in remembrance.